Alright, what's going on, people? Hold on, we're gonna get into a live stream here in just a moment or so. Let's get this live stream here in just a moment. Okay, let's see. Bring this up. Clipboard. All right, here we go. Running out of gloves. Oh no, I am out of gloves for the night. I have to use another fresh pair of gloves to go find some new gloves. Fortunately, I have a huge box of these. So I don't run out. Let's go ahead and get started here. Grab some gloves from our slot in here. I have a little container below my painting set that contains my gloves. Just put them on from here. So we're going to be, before we start on a fresh painting, before we start on a totally fresh painting, I want to do something a little different here. What am I saying? I want to finish up the previous painting that I've been working on. Basically, this painting that we've had these past couple of days, I want to finish it up. I think we can finish it tonight if I spend the time and spend the extra time on it. So I'm going to start by getting my area ready. I'm actually not painting this thing right now. Spraying some vinegar and orange peel solution around my area so that my cats don't come around. And here we go. Let's open up our supplies, shall we? Let's pop them open. I'm going to get our supplies open. So we start off by opening up our Masterson sealable palette here. And I'm going to finish up a painting that we did yesterday. This was just preparing a canvas. So I really had this just to prepare the canvas. But ultimately, we're going to put a piece on top. I'm going to put this piece right on top here. Let's go lay it on top. I don't feel like taking it off and putting it back on. So we're just going to put that up here, and then push it down, bam, just like so. That's interesting. Oh, that's why. Okay. Because this piece doesn't come forward. Is that good? Let's just hope this doesn't bounce off. So, what brush do you want to use right now? I'm going to start off. This is my favorite brush, pretty much. One of them. It's a Princeton Catalyst brush. There's info on it below, but this is a round. As you can tell, it's not so fine pointed anymore, but I love this brush. Synthetic fiber, and we're going to be finishing up on this painting. But let me get some details situated here. I need it to rest against something, so we're just going to let that sit like right there. And here we get this to sit on top so that, there we go. Okay, so what do I need to finish here? There's a couple details in the hands. I feel like I need to work on these hands a little bit, and then get this ear situated, get her ears situated, and then we're pretty much good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and decorate the background later in a few, but for now, let me get some of this. Let me just tighten up the area around the ear first. So with the ear, I want to make sure that I have this ear nice and tight against her head. So let me grab some more quinacridone violet paint, which I definitely need some more of this paint. It's Gamblin 1980, so we're just using a Gamblin 1980. Quinacridone is a pretty common common pigment. quinacridone rose, quinacridone, you know, this quinacridone makes a lot of good, like, I think it's pretty primarily like a red. But when you do a violet, you know, they add some color to make it violet. So anyway, we're gonna come down here. Let's go cover up this area a little better. And then we're gonna come up right here. We're gonna come around. We're gonna be finishing this painting, and then we're gonna be starting another one if I have time, which I should have time because this is Saturday and I don't work tomorrow. Well, actually, you know what? I do have some work that I have to finish tomorrow. But, we have some weekend homework to do. But ultimately, tomorrow is a fairly free day. So, go like this, bring the ear in, give it like a natural shape here. Bring it in a bit, like right there. And let's see how we can bring the ear into, bring it out of purples again. And let's see how we can actually add in an ear. So if we're gonna add in an ear, I think we need like a darker tone. So we're gonna add a burnt sienna, which is like a brown red. I'm gonna come right into here. Let me add just a tiny bit of highlight around the outside of this ear. And this highlight's just gonna come around. We're just gonna have a little bit of a highlight around the ear here. How does that look? Okay, not too bad. Just want to tuck the ear right into our canvas, into our piece right there. And then let's see how we can bring in some shadows right underneath. And we're going to bring some shadows right underneath this cap here and into the side of the ear because it's really tucked in. So this is an interesting ear because it's really tucked into the cap or the headpiece, or I guess it's called a headpiece or a I can't remember the name of it. It's like a scarf or something, but crown, called a crown. And I guess there's some semblance of an ear there. There's just a hint of an ear. You don't need the whole thing. It's all rotated here. So, if we get the semblance of an ear, just a hint that we put in the effort to know it, because at this angle you don't really see it. I want to give it a little bit of shape and detail, but I'm not gonna get too into the details of this ear. Let's see what we can do to just heighten it a little bit rather than making it look like this. Let's go like right here, add this red. And let me see. Let's find some of this purple here. Bring in the white. I'm gonna bring this up a little bit. So, too much white. Let me see. Too much white around the ear. Let's go like this. Just need a little bit of a highlight, just like right there. Boom. Get rid of some of this outline here. And you know what? We can leave it at that. Let's see. All right, so what are we gonna do about the baby here? I think some of the important details are gonna come around the baby. So after every single time I use a color, pretty much, I'll clean off the brush. I will clean off the brush using mineral spirits. So that's what I'm doing back here. I'm dipping it into mineral spirits and tapping it off. And let's see about these hands and these feet. I think the feet are good. I think these feet look a little flat. I think these hands could use a little update, and then this area could be raised a little bit. Let's see, we're gonna go up with this, grab some of this violet, and try to bring up this here. Let's give it some little baby fingers here. Let's go around this piece right here just to tighten up the shape of the fingers. Needs just a little bit of mass, a little bit of roundness. And here we go. So what can we do about the hands? These knuckles look a little bit funny. So I'm going to reduce the height of these knuckles, and then we're just going to like work on blending in some of the flesh tones. I don't plan to get too much more detail for the hands, but I think the important parts look the way they need to look, and these are just like some little touches that may or may not even ever be noticed, right? It's one of those things. Will people ever notice that the hand has a slightly different blend compared to the rest? I don't know. Well, we keep it fairly loose here. And let's go. I think it's one of those things where you have to as the person who's doing the artwork, you really got to choose what is important as a key feature of this, and what do you actually want to leave up for people's imaginations. What is it that you feel people can kind of fill in the blanks versus what do you want people to very, very, very much notice? And that's usually the challenge, right? Is just deciding what do you want people to notice, actually, right? So we're gonna grab a yellow ochre here, and this yellow ochre we can actually bring across the top here and just use this as a brown, like a brown blend, an off brown without being too dark of a shade. And then we're just gonna go around, like right here might be good. How's the hand look? Does the hand look too flat? No, there's some good dimension there. You can tell that there's some separation. So we can leave that hand, and then let's work on this hand. This hand has some details that need to be updated here. So this knuckle's a little funky. So let's bring these knuckles down a little bit. We'll bring these knuckles down, and we're going to do that with our yellow ochre color that we've discovered here. We're just going to bring across these knuckles. We're really gonna use it to shape our knuckles where we can. There we go. Let's grab this yellow ochre here. Bring across the top of the fingers. top of this thumb here, where there should be a shadow. And then let's go like this. And let's try to find some pink here. And then this little baby finger right here. And here we go. Just looking into the photo, looking into the image right here. Let me see how this finger's looking. How are these hands looking? They look okay from here. So let me go. I'm going to take a bigger brush here, and we're going to blend around. I'm going to blend around this bigger footer. So we're going to add we're going to push this a little back. And let's go around. Let's see. And let's tighten it up with our yellow ochre. I'm going to go around the center with a more yellow tone. Let's see how we can blend all this. Let me see. Get a highlight along the top here. A little highlight going right along the top. And so what I'm looking at now is to find a nice spot that has like a transition along the finger that I can utilize as like the main source of main source of light. Let's see. You know what? We can add. Clean off the brush a little bit. We're gonna shape these fingers too. I'm gonna shape these fingers because it's kind of like folded in. So you know, if the baby's fingers are folded in, they got to kind of have like more of an angular shape here. And then we can add a nail somewhere. But let's grab some white, shall we? We're gonna pull out our, we're gonna try to use up the rest of our Gamblin 1980 white. So this white comes in very handy. I'm about to share a tool with y'all that is very helpful in not just getting the most out of every paint, all the paint you buy, but it's just absolutely pretty much a necessity. And is this. So this is a tube squeezer. What's up, Omizu? How you doing? So this is a tube squeezer, and for pretty much every tube of paint, you get an extra 10 to 20% out of your paint with one of these tube squeezers. So like, you know, this is 37 milliliters. I swear I get another 3 milliliters if I use this versus if I don't. No matter how good, how strong your hands are, no matter how good you are at like pushing paint to the top, it's really hard to get as much paint as you would if you had just used a tube squeezer. And there's actually two forms of this. There are two forms of these paint tubes. These tube squeezers. One comes in the form of a key. So one comes like this, little tube key. So you stick your tube through it and you squeeze it, but it only works for smaller tubes. And then the other one was the one that I just showed you that I used, this one. And technically, you know what's funny is I think this says it's a toothpaste squeezer, but it works better for paint. I tried it for toothpaste and it rusted like after a week. So, you know, it doesn't rust when you put paint on it, but it does rust if you get it really, you know, if it's constantly under moisture conditions in the bathroom. So I wouldn't necessarily get this for toothpaste. You know, I bought like a 2 or 3 pack of these, thinking that I could use one for toothpaste, and it works. But I just want to say that this specific one, I highly recommend saving it for your paint supplies and not getting it mixed up. Plus, you don't ever want to get them mixed up. So there's that. But let's get going. So we got these cute little hands here. Let's see if we can add little white highlights to capture like some fingernails. If we could do that, we're gold. We're gold. We're ready to go. We're good and ready to go. So we just want a little bit of a fingernail, like right over here. And a baby nail. And then another baby nail right here. And a baby nail right there. Nails over here. Can't even really see that, so I'm gonna add more white. And let's go add a highlight to the nail. Highlight to the little nail right there. A little highlight to the nail. And how's that? The nail's kind of wacky, but that's cool. That's fine. All right, let's clean off this brush again. And one thing that I do need to do, that I do feel is necessary, is adding some separation between the thumb and the other fingers. So that would be helpful too, if I can bring in some shadow into here, you know, just to create a little separation between body parts. We're gonna go like this. Add some of this up here. Let's add a little white highlight across the top of this finger here. All right, and let's see, the faces look good. Details. Now I just got to decide, do I want, you know what, let me blend this down a little bit right on the top of the fingers here. I think I make that feel more natural. This looks like candy. Hands look like candy. Let me blend down with this color here. Let's go with a little bit of our pink. Grab a little bit of purple, and I want to bring in this pinky. Looks like this pinky kind of looks a little bit off, so I want to bring this up and do this. Just these like minor details that are gonna help to tie it together, but you know, I need to. There we go. Blend this area down just a bit more. Let's see how we can just adapt these feet right here. Something's not sitting right with me on these 2 or 3 hand on the right hand. So let me see what I can do. We're going to take our purple here, and what I think I need to do for this section is create a because this finger's bending, so kind of has this bend to it. And now this other one also has a bend. We're going to sharpen this section right here. Got a little shadow along the top of the hand right here. A little shadow, boom. And then now let's try to blend it again. And let's see, the painting was still talking to me. What do you mean? So here we go. We're gonna go. We're almost done here. There's just these little parts that, you know, if they don't feel just right, they're almost there. They're almost feeling good, almost feeling right. And just add a little maybe a little highlights will help. Let's see. Highlight. Little baby finger highlights. All right, that's kind of cool. Let me see how we can add these highlights even further. Some other areas. Let's just top this painting off with some of the highlights. Although I don't know if I necessarily like the ones that are on the pinky. So I might just dim this down just a little bit, make it more flesh tone, make it feel more natural. And now, clean this off. I want to add a streak of highlight around the earrings. I've already got some good highlights around the earrings, but let's just see if we can just add a hint more. It'll just help us add that extra oomph. There we go. All right. It's shining, it's glowing. You know what? Let's see if we can just do these along the tips of our jewelry here. If we could just add just little bits of white, just, you know, a few of them, not too many. We're not going to add all of them, but just enough to, like, you know, make some of it pop a little bit more. You know, there's some areas that missed our highlight. So I just want to make it pop a little bit further here in some of these areas. Not all of them, just, you know, some of the main ones. Go like that. Boom, boom, yeah. All right, well, that's fun. Let's see here. Mouth looks good. Baby looks good. The hands, whatever. Let me think. How much more detail do I want to put into these hands? Can maybe add a little bit. I'll add a little bit of a knuckle to the top of the hand. This little knuckle right here. It's gonna create like a little dimple type thing. Add a little dimple right there to that part of the hand, and then add a little dimple right here. Not going to be too noticeable, but, you know, create a cohesive hand here. I think the commentary, I can already tell that, you know, if someone was to analyze this painting for a little bit too long, they would say, oh, well, the hand details are where you can be the most critical. Tighten up there. Add some shadow into there. And oh yeah, how am I feeling about this arm? I think the arm's okay. It actually looks pretty decent compared to what it was before. But I would at least like to get it like more similar as far as the tonality of it goes. So let's grab white and our yellow ochre, and we're going to bring our white yellow ochre, and I want to create like a like a highlight just going up, you know, a little bit of a highlight going up, a little bit of a highlight coming down here as well. And what do I do with this? So it's a nice little highlight color that we got going on. Let's find our burnt sienna. So our burnt sienna is this color right here. So for burnt sienna, I use like Utrecht. I mean, I switch between brands quite a lot because, you know, it depends on what I'm using for, right? So burnt sienna, I don't know if you could tell, but this is like a really brown orange. So I usually pick Utrecht, but usually, you know, colors like burnt sienna, yellow ochre, any sort of umber, really is used for like, it's not really used for like top layer details, right? Where you want the most high quality pigments to show. Burnt sienna, I mean, I consider burnt sienna more of like a mixing color, right? You mix it so you could get reddish browns or darker red browns. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's for like, you know, I guess probably use it for like the underlayer of a glaze as well, different glazes and stuff. So one great thing is now that I know that this layer is here, I can start to blend around and just blend up and around, and you can start to see how, you know, the bottom layer of this highlight layer starts to affect the layers around it. And we're just going to capture like all this vibrant level of color here in this area by mixing in our burnt sienna. Let's see, let's find our purple again. Let's go with a little bit of purple. We're coming to here with our purple, just to create like a cohesive color around the shoulder here. We're going to go with purple down here. We're going to come around. Blend in this highlight here so that's not as visible. And I think we've got like a good flesh tone. I think we can even add some of this into here. That's the one thing about, you know, spending some extra time to linger on a painting is, you know, if you allow yourself to linger, you start to find like more and more color tones that you might have missed, which, you know, if you give yourself the time, you can find them and you can start to like paint them in. And really, you know, what I've missed previously is finding some of the reds on this part of her arm. You know, finding some of the reds. And it can add a lot of difference, you know, just a littlest bit of color variation can really do a lot. And I'm just, like, you know, what else would I be doing other than brushing it in? But I'm like, there's like brushing super delicately, and then there's like, you know, just roughly, somewhat almost dry brushing it. This brush isn't totally dry, but you know, to an extent, there's a bit of dry brushing it happening, dry brushing it all in. So let me see here. Going down into here, let's go. Yeah, you know what? I think I could find these colors over on this other side too. Let me see. Let's grab some yellow ochre, and we'll just go along the edge here. And you know what? Your next painting might be calling as well, right? Like, what is your next painting? You know, now's a good time to brainstorm, people. If you want to plan your next painting. I actually spent like an hour on my phone today trying to find out what my next painting was going to be. You know, I want to do this portrait series, but my next painting is going to be a little bit of a weird. I don't want to call it weird. It's artistic. It's artistic because the subject matter, the model of it is artistic, I consider. But in a very contemporary way, meaning for everybody else in the world, it's weird. But for artists, it's like, okay, I kind of get it, and I'll go with it, right? It's one of those types of pieces, the type of artwork where people are like, you know what, I don't get it, and people call it art, right? But I get it, or maybe I don't get it. I just think I do. Who knows? But anyway, go ahead and just blend these all in. Go around the hair here. Probably should have dry brushed this whole arm. Let's see what we can do about, because the arm's cut off at this point. I can't really see anything down there on these part of the arm. I had to make up pretty much this entire part of the arm. So right now I'm struggling to decide, right? Like I rarely ever paint from actual imagination, right? I try to do my best not to have to make things up, but now I have to imagine what this arm is probably looking like. And therefore there is some level of just trying to make this up happening here. I don't always make things up, right? I've always been taught, use good references. That's what they always say that's what they always said in my art school. Where's your reference? What references? Let me see the reference. I want to see your reference. And I'm using a funny voice. I shouldn't be making fun of it because, you know, it's kind of true. Like, you know, if you want someone to evaluate your work, especially if you're, you know, painting in like a realist style, in any sense of realism, right? The real question is like, okay, so, you know, how can I help you? I can't just judge it based on what you're showing me. I have to, you know, compare it to something. So the only way to do that is if you give them your references. If you don't have references, then you really don't, you know, have much to compare with. So here we go. We're gonna let this all just blend in here. Let this arm blend in. I guess this arm's not that important, right? Or is it? Just curve it just a little bit. Get rid of this little edge right here. Let's see, we can add some pink on the top here. Bring this down a bit. Let's see. Okay, so we've got the feet. Excuse me. All right, now I'm just trying to decide whether I want it to decorate this background or not. And if I do, how do I want to do it? And I think let me bring in some black. You know what, I'm gonna bring in some yellow and some black. I'm trying to think of the color combo. I think yellow and black might work pretty well. So yellow, and then bring out some black here. This is Ultra Prussian blue. Ivory black, here we go. Ivory black, so I use my Gamblin 1980 ivory black here. Gamblin 1980. Gamblin 1980 is a great, great entry into professional colors. Honestly, I would even call it Gamblin 1980 professional colors. But even Gamblin differentiates between, their 1980 brand. Gamblin 1980 brand is the most important thing in the painting. That's the Gamblin 1980 brand, and then the Gamblin just traditional. There's a difference. I feel like the Gamblin, the regular Gamblin tends to have like a thicker consistency, which I guess is more densely packed with pigment, versus the regular 1980 brand seems to be a little bit more liquid, which I'm guessing is a factor of either the pigments or having more oil. But sometimes, having it spread easier is a little better, right? Like there's some artists that really love the control of their oil paints, so they probably want it as densely packed with pigment as they could possibly find. I have some stencils, by the way. Let's see what I can do with these stencils. Where are they at? Did I get a stencil? No, I did not get a stencil. What am I saying? I could have swore I bought a stencil. Instead of buying stencils, I bought one of these, and I don't know what to do with it. I thought this would come in useful. You ever buy something that you're like, oh, that could be cool, but you never use it? Well, that's this thing right here. I don't know. So this oil paint is probably still wet. I can see it's very wet. I'm just trying to picture what I'm gonna do here. Let's go. Let's just start drawing some shapes. And then we're gonna go, just gonna do different size circles and squares. I'm gonna go up here and draw a, let's do an oval here. We're gonna go very Gustav Klimt on this, and we're just gonna do, you know, a variety of shapes. Let's do a pair of 3. You know what? I think this is a good area to like have rounder shapes. Just around this top area, close to this thing. And we're just gonna go very Gustav Klimt. Steal from the man Gustav, and let's see, we're gonna go, and I might even need another day to do this once the paint gets dry, so I can add like a really dense, really finalized layer on top of this yellow. But I think overall, this is a good, let's go Gustav Klimt, right? Gustav Klimt would just put shapes everywhere. All right, so, you know, someone's probably thinking, that's not what he did. He was brilliant. He mathematized and like composed every single shape and thought about all the details. He didn't just put shapes in places. Okay. You know, it's one of those things where you have to decide whether, you know, an artist thought about every single formation that they did, or whether, you know, sometimes it was just the beauty of finding randomness. I have arguments in my own head. I don't think anyone actually says that. I don't think, but, you know, someone who's like super elite into Gustav Klimt, someone who really loves him, might be like, you can't just put shapes everywhere and then say that you were copying Gustav, right? So that's the voice I was hearing in my head, but I'm gonna do it anyway. But here we go. So the paint, smack the painting with it. You like piggy mints? What's piggy mints? Oh, pig mints. Piggy mints. I get it. I get it. So I don't necessarily want I don't want any shapes getting into this, but I don't mind the shapes being around it. So we're really gonna spice this up by adding in our Klimt shapes and forms. And you know what? Let's switch up our colors here. Well, let me add one more. I'm gonna add this circle right here, or this square, this rectangle. That's an argument I often have in my head, is like, you know, if I was to name an artist that I was like mimicking, what would someone who's like the most critical, most obsessed with artists, what would they say? And that's usually, you know, the voice of doubt in my head is like, what would they say? If I was to say, hey, this is like my interpretation of what Gustav Klimt does in some of his paintings, what would someone who's like a super Gustav Klimt obsessed artist, what would be his criticism, his commentary, his most elitist comment about what I'm doing? And that's kind of how I plan painting sometimes, is how can I pay respects to the artist that I am claiming to copy from? I'm not copying exactly, right? Like, I'm not using a reference of like how Gustav Klimt would do it exactly, but you know, I'm taking ideas. We're taking ideas here. Just shapes, forms. You can already start to see how it kind of comes together and creates this like. And I think the real lesson here is the combination of colors that we have right now. So the combination of colors is like, you know, this yellow, this yellow and purple. Here, let's pull out this color wheel here. Very helpful tool. I use it all the time. If I don't use it, I'm like calculating in my head the exact same thing that I do on a color wheel. You know, and sometimes I still need the color wheel for ideas, right? It's just good to have a visual when you're thinking. I mean, it's pretty, I don't use it as much, right? Like I can know in my head that that orange is complementary to blue, that yellow orange is complementary to blue violet, that yellow is complementary to violet. So, you know, I have this color, so I got this red violet here, which technically with this red violet I should probably be using green rather than yellow, but you know, whatever. Let me see. So if I was to use violet, if I was to have violet as the main color, what color should I have? If I want a triad, I should have blue, green, yellow, orange. What if I was yellow? How would I make this a good like yellow? If I was red, violet with a tetrad. Anyway, color wheel, right? The most basic thing is knowing your six major colors and then knowing how they're complementary across from each other. So this tells you, and then this also tells you the split complementary, and it tells you the triad version, tetrad, which, you know, they all have different reasons, but explains here, right? Harmonious color schemes, monochromatic, analogous, complementary, split complementary, triad, tetrad, key color. Predominant color in the color scheme of a painting or other creative projects. So the predominant color is this purple. So if I go to like a red violet, I should say, it's like a red violet. So, you know, I probably want to focus on like green, which green is already here, which is perfect, and yellows. So we're kind of in the right direction. You know, these reds and this green. This just happened to be coincidence, by the way. Total coincidence that this is green, this is yellow, and that I painted the background purple. You know, actually, I think I did think that it would be a red violet because I was thinking just purple violet, but I think it's more of a coincidence that this headpiece as well as this are the total, pretty much the split complementary to red violet. I think that's a little bit of a coincidence. I didn't plan it because this is the only purple I have. This is the only violet I have, so I wasn't able to be like, you know. Anyway, other ways to use this color wheel. The pocket color wheel, very helpful. So say you want to let's just take our color yellow. You want to mix red, you get a little bit of a yellow orange. You want to mix yellow, you get more yellow. You want to mix blue, you get a green. You want to mix white, you get this off yellow white. You want to add black, you get like a darker yellow that's almost kind of green, olive green, and that's it. You just do that with all the colors, and it's pretty handy. I definitely use this color wheel quite often. Sometimes you just, you know, sometimes you don't want to do the math, right? Like that's what calculators are for. If mathematicians can still use calculators, why can't artists use a color wheel? This little elementary product, literally like every elementary school teaching art should have this. This is what you should learn like elementary school. I mean, you should. It's like this is as important to an artist as like a calculator is to a mathematician. Maybe not as advanced, but like pretty up there. I'm sure someone has like a super advanced version of a color wheel. That very handy. What's up, Pookie? What are you saying? Oh, does everybody hear that? Did everyone hear my cat talking? I love when my cat talks. They'd probably say it doesn't look like Klimt enough. Well, you know what? That's fine. Well, definitely the painting itself, you know, the way I painted the figures is definitely not Klimt at all. Totally not Klimt as far as his the work that he's known for. But I would say that, you know, these shapes actually give a feeling of Klimt. Or maybe I'm just delusional. Could it be? Could it be that I have delusions? It's probably true that I'm delusional. Alright, so let's go here. And we're gonna go. We need at least one area that, you know, has like a piece that connects the two bodies. You know, you want it to look like, one of the problems with painting the background after the fact is that you sometimes like lose the opportunity to like make it look like you painted through, like somebody's body is painted on top of it. You know, like right now I have to get really close up to the skin and like, and it might never actually look like, you know, there's another piece. It might actually look like it's cut off because of the timing of this painting, right? I'm painting this now. But if I had like planned this, which, you know, I like to keep my paintings more spontaneous, but if I had planned this, what's up, Pookie? If I'd actually planned this, I might have like, you know, a bit more specifics. But let's clean this brush off. It's totally what someone with delusions would say. I have delusions. I definitely have delusions. I think in order to be an artist, and I've seen that many artists say this, that in order to be an artist, you do have to have some delusion, right? You do have to have some delusion. If you want to be like a known artist, if you want to be a successful artist, if you want to be an artist that sells work, because art, you know, any painting at its core is literally just a luxury. It's a luxury. The only people that buy it, that buy artwork, are people that have everything else they need, and at the end of the day, they just need to feel that sense of self-actualization. Right? You just need a sense of self-actualization. And you know what? I can have some. Let me have some black in here. You know what? We're gonna add some black lines in this. This one's gonna have a black outline. Just to add some color variety. And let's create one that is actually black. I'm gonna create a few of them that are actually. Let's go right here. I'm gonna create a long oval here. Black oval, and we're gonna go down here. Let's go with 2 black squares. Pop quiz: who painted the black square? Got 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Kazimir Malevich. That's a fun fact. Kazimir Malevich painted the black square. And what does everybody think? Does everybody think Kazimir Malevich, the black square, is a scam, or do you think it's truly worth $14 million? What does the world think? Let's see about here. We're going to go down right into here. what are we gonna do with these black rectangles and these shapes? We're gonna paint into them. I should probably bring out a red too. Let me bring out my red. Got some red. I'm gonna use up some more of our Van Gogh. So this is a Van Gogh brand by Royal Talens. Van Gogh brand by Royal Talens. Amazing. I love this brand. Van Gogh. Not all my paints are Van Gogh brand. Usually I shop based on brand and you know, discount or sales, whatever sales are going on. If there's any. There's some brands that I'll buy full, you know. Sometimes I see something, I'm like, okay, I'll go full price on that. But it all depends. You know, when you see a sale on Amazon or whatever, wherever you shop for paints, it's like, hey, for me at least, I'm like, hey, I have to get that right now. I have to buy those paints right now. Shopping sales for paints for me is like shopping for clothes for some other people. You know, it's like a sale. What? That's awesome. I love a good sale. And let me go. Nice little stripe right there. And we're gonna grab some more of this white. Go nice stripe right in. You know, let's do an outline on this one. This one's gonna have a little outline on the inside. Random little outline. You know what? That's kind of weird. I don't know if I like that outline. I'm just gonna paint it in. Yeah, we're just gonna paint that in. Not a fan of the outline. Let's clean off this brush here. Let's actually use some white. We're gonna use our white to create our space now. Grab a nice thick chunk of white on our brush. Let's go like this. I'm gonna go. Let's see, where's a good spot for this one? Here we go. Nice oval. We'll do a long oval right here. You know, what if the way, you know, what if like one person thought that Gustav Klimt, like every single shape mattered, right? Let's just take like someone who's like super into Gustav Klimt, who probably, you know, knows how he did things, but let's just take, for example, someone who's like super obsessed. Like I know some people who are like super obsessed with certain artists, and like, you know, if someone tries to copy them, they'll leave a comment on Instagram and be like, that's not whoever that is, not even close, or something of the sort. And you know, I just wonder, like, if Gustav Klimt was ever like, rather than thinking that every single thing, every single shape and placement perfectly mattered, What if he was just like, you know, I'm just gonna hire an assistant to paint these shapes because it's almost impossible to mess up putting these shapes down, right? If you like do it in an interesting way. Meanwhile, someone else thinks it's like you absolutely have to get them perfect. I'm very I have a lot of criticisms in my head, by the way, if you haven't noticed. These are all criticisms that I'm like, what would someone think, right, about this painting? What would they say? We're gonna put a little circle in this one just to add something extra. This is like Timu stop, right? Timu Klimt. That would actually be a comment. If someone says you're like a Timu version of some artist, it's sort of a comment, right? Because they at least recognize you for that work, even though you may not be totally in that direction. So let's grab some yellow ochre here. We're going to go with a slightly different yellow, and we're going to come around and we're just going to add a circle. Let's add two circles. One big circle. I'm going to add a big circle here. And you know, those of you watching on my Amazon live, you might be wondering, why is he like sharing all these thoughts? So the stream of my the format of my live streams, if you ever come back or if I haven't scared you away, is really made for like not shopping, to be honest. Even though, you know, I'm doing the shopping stream, and you know, I'm changing it up a little bit, and maybe I may change over time, but I started my live stream, and part of my live stream, my stream of consciousness thinking is part of the craft, is part of the art. It's this revealing and discovery of the inner self, right? The mental challenges of painting, which come in the form of many things, right? But usually it's just voices in your head. Yes, I hear voices in my own head. The critics, self-doubt, the self-imposed limiting factors, all these things. And I think it's important to share some of these as a creative person, because you never know when someone else might be going through the same thing. I have had comments, right, on my live streams. You know, some people say I talk too much. Some people get value out of me adding these thoughts, you know. So it all depends. It's all meant to be helpful. So let's find our red. It's so important to place these correctly, because I think if they're not, it's gonna look funny. You have to be somewhat specific. And let's go like this. I probably should have looked at it. Try to find a specific Gustav Klimt painting that I wanted to copy. And take an inspiration from that for these patterns. But I think the real thing to know about Gustav Klimt is that he's a decorative artist. You know, he was a decorative artist. That's how he grinded his axe, or I don't know the exact term, like where he trained, where he built up his talents, his skills, his creative vision was in the decorative arts. So, you know, decorating. I don't know how else to explain it, but decorating, right? He would decorate things. And when you're a decorative artist, you got to find ways to decorate, right? So how do you decorate this? How do you do this in an interesting way? So here we go. We're gonna go, let's go bring like if I bring an intersecting shape here, I feel like I have to do another intersecting shape. Pookie, psst, 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 psst. Get down. All right. All right, you can stay there. Just don't go on my paintings. I'm talking to my cat. She loves to. Are you peeing? Pookie, what are you doing, you weirdo? All right, fine. You can stay there. Let's see. What do I do with this? What do I do with this color right here? This goes. No, let's put a rectangle within a square. Ooh, that's not a good color. It's not going to show up. There we go. Let's put a rectangle in a square. Why not? Right? A rectangle in a square. A red rectangle. I mean, a square in a circle. Pookie, psst, Pookie. Okay, had to pull her down. She loves to jump on top of paintings for some reason. All right. So how do we go about this? Let's see, right into here. Shapes within shapes. And let's see, what else can we do here? Right into this arm. I need a nice contrasting color around this arm. I can't have like, you know, flesh color. This is almost like a flesh color. It's not even really like a yellow, which makes me feel like I got to bring in the yellow here. Let me bring this yellow in. If you really want a traditional looking painting, this doesn't look like a regular painting because the purple is still wet. And usually what an artist would do is either they would already have these planned out and they would paint it and sketch it and then paint it, or they would, you know, they would let it all dry and then paint all this stuff. But I typically just go straight for it. So let's see where this can go. Let's go with like a little square right between the fingers. Let's see. This color might. I don't think this color will be good trying to place it on top. So let's clean this brush off. Let's go with some black. We're gonna add a little bit more black. We're gonna go right here between the fingers. Why did I use black? I feel like it's a nice challenging color for this section. Kind of looks like his hands are on top of something, right? That's interesting. Let's go with a little black circle right here, coming from off of the canvas. I think this, I might need I'm probably going to put a white in there. Let's actually bring black on top of gold, right? Black and yellow. Hello, Pittsburgh. Any Pittsburghians in the house? Who here is from Pittsburgh? Nobody. Black and yellow. All right. So here we go. Let's see how we can add this black into, we're going to paint this into the white. Let's add a little streak of white. Just add some more pattern, right? Add some more dimension into everything. And let's see, now that we've got this black, let's go right here. A little bit of black right there. You know what? After this, I'm actually gonna take a break. I'm gonna be done in a few moments, but I need a break. So black and yellow right here. Boom. A little bit of yellow right here. Boom. Dot right there. Now, this really is just making stuff up at this point. Not really like teaching any sort of useful, I'm not teaching any useful skills in life. None of this is gonna come in handy. Because not only am I just like kind of randomly putting these shapes in, but you know, I wish I could be teaching, well, this is the compositional, you know, this is the compositional effect of having two black squares next to a big red white circle, and these black rectangles symbolize this, while this one gold circle represents the sun, and this little red and yellow, you know, so I'm not like, I guess I'm not really teaching anything right now other than just painting and enjoying, but you know, I hope you're at least enjoying the outcome of this painting and how this is all coming together. That's interesting, right? At least we have that. At least we have an interesting painting that has come out of this. So this, let's add a red circle right here. Ooh, look at that red. Look at this beautiful red. Red comes out so nice on this violet. I should have been painting them all red. And you know what? We're going to take this red again. We're going to grab some more of this red. Let's actually go like a rectangle that goes across here. So this is a nice big block. I'm going to get a block that goes into the arm. Goes up from the arm. Cuts across like right there. That's nice, right? Ooh, look at that. I love when you can, like, when you're painting on top and like you kind of make it look like it's behind the figure. You have to do that sometimes, because if I have too many of these figures, here's actually something that's useful. I learned this from James Gurney. James Gurney has a lot of great art books out, but if you look at James Gurney's art books, one thing that he says, or actually if you follow his Instagram, you don't even have to buy his art book. He gives so much good info on Instagram. But if you ever listen to James Gurney, that's Jamesgurney, he talks about this topic. I don't remember the exact word, but it's basically if you make two objects, right? Let's just say my fingers. And if you, like, let's say my fingers are in the background though, like two different objects. And if you just make them like come next to each other, it doesn't look 3D, right? But if you can just put my finger just slightly behind the object, then it actually just creates this instant 3D effect. And you know, it's good to find that balance between finding objects that just barely touch and then finding objects that actually crisscross. And that is a technique that James Gurney mentions of finding that level of balance if you can. I'm gonna add a little oval right here. We can add a tiny circle. Let's add a little tiny circle right here. I just feel like that little spot is empty. And then make a big, you know what, I want to add, do I want a white oval or a red circle? Or red, something red. Let me add the red into here. And we can add some red into here. And now, clean off this brush. How am I cleaning off this brush, by the way? So I have this painting over here. Let me show it. So I have this painting over here that that's a long-term project that I actually wipe off my canvas on. So this painting right here is basically all the paint that like I can't use right now. So instead of throwing it away and just washing it away, I use this extra canvas as a place to put to scrub my paint on. So it's a separate painting project. And then I dip it in my mineral spirits, which are back here. My odorless mineral spirits, which help you to clean your brush. Mineral spirits help you to clean your brush. And here we go. So let's see. Let's get another shape. We only have like one white shape, which is just a little odd. That looks funny, right? So let's see. We can add I want to add another white shape into here. Let's really get this. Let's get a nice circle going, just to highlight the roundness. Create some more circle shapes. But this is totally the abstract element of this painting. Abstracting, painting shapes. You know what? Is this really considered abstract? Because these are all shapes, right? I'm trying to create shapes, which means I'm creating what I'm setting out to do, right? It's not abstract. It's figurative, I guess. This is a form of figurative painting, right? Just painting shapes. I guess more so it's like design. It's more so like design, right? Is that, would people agree to that? Feels more like design. And I don't want any of this stuff coming out of the hat. I want the hat to be a, you know, large shape in itself. But let me see where else I can add a little bit of white, because this white, I like the white. Let's add a little white circle here. A little white dot. A little white dot right here, white circle. And here we go. So circles, we got squares, rectangles. Needs a little bit of balance, a little bit of white balance here. So let me just top off this little corner right here. Let me add a little white to this corner right up to the top here, as if there was something, you know, going off the page. And now let's see, we're going to take this white a little bit more. And where can we add some of this color to bring in some highlight? Let's see, we could take this white, we could go an extra highlight right around. We could take the white to go into this red circle. Let's go. And let's clean off this brush onto our special canvas. And you know what? I want a little bit more of this red. I really like where this red is. And I want to bring it right into here to make it look like there's like a little, one more square popping out. That's the goal. Just one more square popping out here. So let's grab some more of this red, bring this up. Carve that around. So that, you know, gives it more dimension. You know, if I was to just put these shapes only around surrounding the figures, it wouldn't have dimension. It wouldn't look like, you know, there's depth. But now it just looks like, right? It looks like there's a little bit extra depth just by adding these extra shapes into the spaces here. So we're gonna add the little red right there. Let's add a red line right here. Let's see if a red line will show up in here. Ah, it's actually pretty good. All right. I'm surprised myself at how that worked. Now let's see. Maybe black into red would be good. Black into red. Black on what into white. Yeah, let's do that. All right. So we already have like black on a lot of things though. So I'm trying to think. 1, 2, 3. I'm trying to find like a good balance to everything that's here. I find it amusing now that a few moments ago I said that, you know, most of this is just pretty random, like I'm not really putting too much thought into it. But here I am, you know, being pretty specific. Yeah. Who'd have thought, being pretty specific about the about all these ideas. So you know what we can do? We need some of this yellow still. So we're gonna add the yellow into this one. I like the yellow into this one. So we're gonna add the yellow. Now that, oh, that didn't even really show up because the red is so deep. Such a deep red, but it's fine. And then, you know, we could go, let's add that dot right there. And then, well, we can create a shape in here. We can create a circle within a circle. Excuse me. Excuse me again. And let's create this. Got a lot of red circles already. Let's do the white into this red here. And then let's find our red into here. Add some red right there. So I guess you could call that pink. And let's top this bottom part off with the black. Just a nice dab of black right there. Let's go with a shape, a little shape like that. Well, we can round this out. Let's round it out with the black here. Boop. And there we go. Okay, I think we're done. I think we are finished. I'm trying to look at it on a camera. I'm trying to see if there's any areas that feel a little empty. And I think just this one little section right here feels a little empty. So we're gonna go. Let's clean off this black here. Clean the brush. And we're gonna go with. I don't want to go with more gold. I need something to balance this out. Got some red. There might be too much white on this left side. What's a good color? What should we do? Anybody want to play? Pick a color. Either black, red, or white. In this top left. Black, red, or white. Or yellow. Black, white. No, black, white, or red. Maybe just a little red dot. I'm just going to go with a red dot. Unless someone else volunteers in 20 seconds. 19, 18, 17. You get to contribute to this painting. 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. Any opinions? 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Nobody wants to pick a color to go in that corner. That's all good. All right. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to go a quarter circle. It's like a quarter circle. And then a red. No, quarter circle and a small red square. Now let's add some other colors on top of it. We're going to go yellow right here. And then white right here. And there we go. Okay, we're done. We are finished with this painting. Let's clean up now. And those of you that have been here for these past few days of working on this, I think it's been about, let's see, how many hours? Probably about 15 hours maybe, I think on a high-end guess. 15 hours to finish this painting. Somewhere between like average of 3 hours a day for 5 days, 4 days. That's one thing I love about streaming is you get to keep track of your hours. You know, some people don't like making art feel like, you know, like something that you track, but I do. It's just my personality, you know. I like to just keep track of progress and document and just get this feeling. Maybe this is I have some artwork. My artwork has to do with time too. Like the entire YouTube channel and my live streams are all part of this process. So we're cleaning off the brushes now, but we're gonna wrap up for now. We might come back later this evening. I'm not exactly sure yet if I will. I need to take a break. Get some life things taken care of, some chores. But hey, hope you're all doing great. Any questions as we wrap up now? I am putting down covering my palette with our Masterson sealable palette. So this is a rectangular palette that stores the standard glass palette, which is the New Wave POSH glass palette, which is great for oil paints because it's easy to clean, and when you store it in this rectangular bin that seals, it helps your oil paints last that much longer. So with that, I think we're good to go for the night. And everybody, thank you so much for being a part of this live stream. Thank you so much for being a part of the creative process. Really appreciate it, but we're going to wrap up now. Until next time, take care, everybody.